My name is Serena Ashford. I'm 33 years old. The wind lashed my hair across my face as I stood on the rooftop of the spire, Manhattan stretched out below me like a glittering promise that I'd spent my entire life trying to cash in. 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 4 hours until H hour, 4 hours until Arthur Sterling would raise a glass and announce that I'd become the youngest partner in the firm's history. I stepped behind the heavy glass windbreak that shielded the VIP section and bent down to fuss with the peonies on the family head table one more time. White and blush pink blooms imported from Holland, each stem costing more than most people spent on an entire bouquet. Thanks to the glass partition, the petals stayed perfect, untouched by the Hudson wind. Just like everything else tonight needed to be. This table, centered right next to the podium, was supposed to be my proof of success. My parents, my little sister Brittany, my neatly curated, well-dressed, supportive family, smiling and clapping as my name was announced. The living exhibit A that I hadn't sold my soul to the law. My hand drifted to my clutch, fingers finding the familiar weight of the two thick envelopes inside. My grand plan, bound in heavy paper and embossed logos. 3 years of saving, planning, and sacrificing, funneled into two simple promises. In the first envelope, an all-inclusive retirement portfolio for my parents. Enough to fund the European river cruise my mom had circled in travel magazines until the pages tore. Enough for my dad to finally buy that vintage Corvette he'd bookmarked on his laptop and revisited every Sunday morning like a ritual. In the second, a full-ride scholarship package for Brittany to study fashion design in Paris. Not some random program. Institut Français de la Mode, the academy she'd raved about since she was 16, the place whose alumni she stalked on Instagram like movie stars. Tuition, housing, stipend, everything handled. All they had to do was show up tonight and let me hand it to them. Because in my head, the math had always been simple. If I gave them security, if I gave Brittany her dream, if I handed my parents the life they fantasized about, then maybe, finally, they would look at me and see more than the serious one. Maybe they'd be proud. Maybe they'd love me the way I'd been trying to earn since I was 11, and they left my regional spelling bee early to make it to Brittany's dance recital. My phone buzzed once, then immediately again. Traffic update, I thought, straightening a fork, parking issue, maybe a nervous text from my mom about what to wear. I slipped the phone from my clutch, my smile already forming. It vanished as soon as I saw the screen. Bank alert. American Express supplementary card ending in 4782, charge $3,000 at Pink Flamingo Beach Club. Transaction approved. Before my brain could wrap around that, the second notification slid in. Mom, we can't make it. Your sister is having a panic attack. She needs quiet meditation space to heal immediately. So sorry, sweetie, you understand. I read both messages, then I read them again. Pink Flamingo Beach Club. I knew that place. Everyone in the city did. Neon lights, sticky floors, watered-down cocktails sloshing in plastic cups, the air thick with coconut sunscreen, poor decisions, and house music so loud you could feel it in your molars. The kind of place where 20-year-olds went to throw up on each other and call it a core memory. That was their quiet meditation space? My lawyer brain, trained to spot inconsistencies in contracts and witness statements, kicked in automatically. The notification showed the charge had gone through at 3:47 p.m., 13 minutes ago, which meant they had been there long enough to order the VIP package, long enough to settle in, long enough to know they weren't coming hours before I got the text. They had waited until the card swiped and the payment cleared to tell me my sister was too anxious to attend my partnership celebration. So I couldn't cancel the card, so I couldn't stop it. This wasn't an emergency. This was strategy. The burn that rose in my chest had nothing to do with dollar signs. I'd paid more than that for Brittany's rent last month alone. It was the contempt, the effortless cruelty of choosing a trashy beach club over 3 hours on this rooftop with me, then using my money to fund their escape from my life. They hadn't just skipped my night. They'd made it clear they would rather be anywhere else, as long as I paid for it. Miss Ashford? I turned. Felipe, the restaurant manager, stood a few feet away, hands folded with that restrained, diplomatic posture of a man who'd seen too many wealthy people unravel over canapes. His face was neutral, but there was pity in his eyes. He'd watched me rearrange the table settings for the past hour like my life depended on the placement of each fork. Should we clear the family table? He asked gently. The words hit harder than the wind. I looked at the empty seats, the printed place cards with my parents' and Brittany's names written in calligraphy, the reserved for family sign standing like a joke in the middle of the arrangement. If the managing partner saw me sitting alone here, he'd draw conclusions. He'd see a woman who was brilliant on paper, but alone in life. A woman who could close deals but had no one to toast her. The kind of associate who looked like she'd traded love for billable hours. Everything I'd built could be undercut by 6 empty chairs. I felt tears press hotly behind my eyes. Reflexively, I blinked them back. I would not cry. Not here. Not where the waitstaff could see. I had survived law school, hostile negotiations, and a bar exam that turned grown men into wrecks. I was not going to fall apart because my family chose cheap liquor over me. No, I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. Keep it exactly as it is. The most luxurious arrangement you have. Philippe nodded slowly. But take away the reserve for family sign, I added. He hesitated just a fraction of a second, understanding sinking in. Of course, Miss Ashford, right away. When he left, I stared down at my phone again. The bank alert sat there like evidence in a case file. $3,000. Pink Flamingo Beach Club. I opened the banking app, fingers trembling, and tapped into the transaction details. VIP Cabana package. $1,200. High Tide Alcohol Tower X10. $100. Private DJ, service fee. $300. 10 alcohol towers. A private DJ. This wasn't soothing a panic attack. This was a celebration. Of what? Not being here, not being with me. I felt something inside my chest click into place, like a lock finally turning. The hurt congealed into something colder, sharper. My thumb hovered over my contacts, then pressed a number I knew by heart. Nana? They did what? Even at 75, my grandmother's voice could slice through noise like a whip. I had to pull the phone slightly away from my ear. I gave her the short version, the fake panic attack, the quiet meditation text, the pink flamingo charge. The pink flamingo? She repeated, incredulous. Your mother has always had the taste of a gaudy parrot, but this is a new level of stupidity even for her. That place is where 20-year-olds go to throw up in each other's shoes. Despite everything, a thin laugh escaped me. You know it? Serena. I spent 40 years as a high school principal in this city. I know every trash establishment my students tried to sneak into with fake IDs. She paused. Are you crying? No. Good. Don't you dare waste tears on people who choose cheap cocktails over your success. I'm getting dressed. I'll be there in an hour. I'm wearing the gray St. John suit, the one that makes me look like I could buy and sell half of Manhattan before breakfast. Nana, you don't... Serena Elise Ashford. The full name treatment froze me. You listen to me. You need someone of the same class standing beside you tonight. Someone who understands that when a woman wins, you show up. Your parents may have given you life, but I am the one who taught you what to do with it. I'll be there. She hung up before I could argue. I stood alone on the rooftop, phone still in my hand. The city glittering like nothing had happened. The hurt pulsed in me, raw and bright, but beneath it, a thin vein of relief opened up. At least one person saw this for what it was. At least one person was coming for me, not for the open bar. Prove it, I muttered to myself and opened Instagram. It took less than 30 seconds to find Brittany's story. Of course she'd posted. Brittany documented everything. Outfits, brunches, healing crystals, sponsored teas that cured exactly nothing. There she was, my 26-year-old sister, holding a neon blue cocktail in each hand under black lights, grinning so wide I could practically hear the squeal through the screen even with the music blaring. Behind her, plastic flamingos, tiki torches, bikini tops that probably violated several health codes. Escape the stiff lawyer, sister, she screamed at the camera, voice slurred. Best Friday night ever. Thanks for the credit card, sis. She blew a kiss to the lens and spun around, almost losing her balance as a cluster of friends grabbed her and laughed. I counted at least 8 of them in frame, all holding matching neon drinks, all partying on my tab. The story had been posted 23 minutes ago. Hundreds of people had already watched it. I watched it again, then again. With each replay, the sting lessened and the disgust sharpened. I forwarded the story to Samantha Miller, my executive assistant, then hit call. Hey, boss, she answered. We're in the lobby, me, Jenkins, and the others. We figured we'd grab a drink at the bar before heading up. You okay? You sound... Come up to the VIP level, I said. All of you. The VIP level, that's for partners and... Samantha, my tone flattened. Bring everyone. That's an order. She hesitated for only a heartbeat. On our way. I slid my phone back into my clutch and turned toward the family head table. Philippe materialized again, eyes sharp, reading the shift in my posture. Change of plan, I said. This table is no longer reserved for family. I need place settings for 8. My associates will be sitting here. His eyebrows rose. The head table? The head table, I repeated, and make the settings even more impressive than they are now. I want it to look intentional, not like a backup plan. A slow smile tugged at his mouth. Understood, Miss Ashford. We'll make it magnificent. As he hurried away, I pulled my phone out one more time and opened my banking app, not to look at the pink flamingo charge. This time, I went back 3 years. Every transfer, every emergency payment, every rent deposit for Brittany's Williamsburg apartment, the one bedroom she called her creative studio, and filled with ring lights and half-finished vision boards. $400 every month for 3 years. Scroll. $500 here, minimum due on my parents' supplementary card. $900 there, unexpected car repairs. $12,200, medical bill, insurance messed up again. $5,000 to an investment opportunity I never saw paperwork for. I started adding the numbers, methodically, like I was prepping an exhibit for trial. Each figure had a date, a memo line, a memory attached. My mother's voice telling me, "You understand, sweetie, you've always made more." My father's quiet, guilty silence. Brittany's bubbly texts full of heart emojis and promises to pay you back when my brand takes off. I calculated on my phone's app, digit after digit, my thumb moving on autopilot while my mind replayed the video of my sister toasting to escaping me. 12 minutes later, I stared at the final total on the screen. $250,000, $250,000 in 3 years. Not counting gifts or dinners or plane tickets, just support, just the privilege of being their safety net. And in return, they'd spent $3,000 of my money to celebrate not having to show up for me on the most important night of my life. I set the phone down on the pristine white tablecloth and let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. If they weren't here tonight, I thought, staring at the 8 gleaming place settings, maybe they never needed to sit at this table at all. Somewhere behind me, the elevator chimed, a bright, punctual ding that sliced through the music and the low murmur of staff finishing preparations. My team was here. The elevator doors slid open and my team stepped out. Samantha in front, sharp as ever in a navy dress, followed by Jenkins, Davis, Vance, and the other juniors, all in various shades of cocktail attire and confusion. They'd clearly rushed to make it up here, but they still looked polished, ambitious, hungry. The kind of people who showed up even when they didn't have to. Serena? Samantha approached carefully, scanning my face. What's going on? I looked at them, at the people who had pulled all-nighters with me, run depositions, organized filings, defended me to opposing counsel, stayed late because I stayed late. People who had chosen, again and again, to stand beside me. My family isn't coming, I said simply. A silence settled over the group, heavy, but not pitying. More protective. Where are they? Samantha asked. Instead of answering, I pulled up Brittany's Instagram story and handed her the phone. The transformation in her expression was almost theatrical, a slow slide from confusion to disbelief to white-hot fury. Samantha handed the phone back with tight jaws. Well, Jenkins said after a beat, their loss is our gain. We get the good champagne. It was so perfectly, stupidly Jenkins that I actually laughed. A short, real sound I hadn't felt in hours. Yes, I said, yes you do. The rooftop transformed as the sun set. String lights flickered to life overhead. Manhattan glittered below like someone had scattered diamonds across the darkness. The jazz band tuned up, the bar hummed with first orders, and every corner of the rooftop buzzed with polished conversation and expensive cologne. My head table, their head table, was now set for 8 rising stars in the legal world. Philippe had outdone himself. The place settings gleamed like something out of a lifestyle magazine. Tall glass centerpieces caught the candlelight and refracted it like crystal stars. But my stomach twisted into knots because the one person who mattered hadn't arrived yet. Arthur Sterling, managing partner, 50 years of legal mastery wrapped in a tailored navy suit and a stare capable of reducing junior associates to trembling confessions. The man who had personally called me into his office to say, "Serena, you remind me of myself at your age." He valued family. He preached balance. He built his reputation on being a man who did things the right way, the human way, the grounded way. What would he think when he saw the empty family chairs replaced by associates? "Serena." I turned. Arthur Sterling stood behind me, silver hair immaculate, expression unreadable. Even in the low rooftop light, he radiated authority. "Mr. Sterling," I said, standing straighter, "thank you so much for coming. I wouldn't have missed it." He clasped my hand, warm, firm, appraising. Then he glanced past me, toward the head table. "Though I admit I was hoping to finally meet the famous Ashford family. You spoke so warmly of them." My heart thudded. There was an emergency." He waited, silent, a blade suspended midair. Before I could lie badly enough to ruin my career, a voice sliced through the tension. "Good evening, Mr. Sterling." Nana Beatrice. She appeared at my side wearing the gray St. John's suit she'd promised, pearls gleaming under the rooftop lights. Her posture was regal, her chin lifted just enough to be commanding without arrogance. She extended her hand with the grace of a diplomat and the force of a judge. "I'm Beatrice Ashford," she said. "Serena's grandmother, former principal of St. Catherine's Preparatory, and the woman who taught this young lady everything she knows about discipline, excellence, and integrity." Sterling blinked, not thrown, impressed. "A pleasure, Miss Ashford," he said, shaking her hand. "Her parents," Nana continued, her tone cool and perfectly calibrated, "are dealing with a family matter that required their immediate attention. Unfortunate, but irrelevant." She stepped half an inch forward, subtly positioning herself between me and Arthur. "Because while they may have given Serena life, I am the one who forged her mindset. I taught her to show up. I taught her that excellence is not optional, and I taught her that commitment matters more than convenience." The surrounding tables had fallen silent. Sterling stared at her, then at me. Then he laughed, warm, genuine, delighted. "Miss Beatrice," he said, "that is the finest introduction I've heard in years, and clearly the apple did not fall far from the tree." He clasped my shoulder, approval blazing through me like a sunbeam. "You're lucky to have her, Serena." "I know," I whispered. When he walked away to greet guests, my knees nearly buckled. "Easy," Nana murmured, gripping my elbow. "You're fine." That was a perfectly executed defensive maneuver. Because it was true. A flicker of softness warmed her eyes. "Exactly." Then my phone buzzed. Instagram. Brittany had gone live. Stupidly, I clicked it. The screen flickered, shaky and loud, but I could see everything. Brittany, drunk, waving her neon blue cocktail like a trophy. Friends screaming, music pounding, sweaty, glitter-smeared people dancing around them. Plastic flamingos, tiki torches, the worst of Long Island nightlife. "Best Friday night ever," she screeched. "No boring lawyer talk, just vibes. Thanks for the credit card, sis. You're the best ATM ever." Thousands of comments scrolled by. "OMG, who treats their sister like that ATM? That's disgusting. Didn't she have a huge event tonight? This is so trashy, OMG." The live ended with Brittany stumbling, laughing, and dropping her phone. My stomach didn't drop this time. It calcified. "Serena?" Samantha touched my arm. "It's time for your speech." I straightened my posture, tucking the phone away. "Let's do this." The crowd went silent as I stepped to the podium. Warm light glowed against the Manhattan skyline. Dozens of faces turned toward me. My team at the head table sat tall, watching me like I was theirs. Not their boss, not their superior, but their person. At the table beside them, I noticed her, a woman in her early 30s, glam, too glam to be a lawyer. Phone out, recording. Not discreetly enough to hide that she was hungry for content. Perfect. I lifted my glass. "Thank you all for being here," I began. "Honestly, 4 hours ago, I almost canceled this party." A ripple of surprise moved through the audience. I got a text. My family told me they had an emergency, that my sister needed to heal, that they needed quiet meditation space. I let the words hang, brittle and sharp. But then I saw the credit card receipt. $3,000 at a beach club, 10 alcohol towers, a private DJ, and then I saw the Instagram live stream. Silence, absolute. My sister partying, laughing, celebrating not being here. The influencer's phone zoomed in slightly. Good, let her. I swept my gaze across the rooftop. And then I looked at all of you. People who showed up early, people who stayed late all week so tonight could happen, people who chose to be here. My voice steadied. This table, I gestured toward my team, is no longer for bloodline. It's for people who share vision. For a moment, Manhattan held its breath. Then Samantha started clapping. Then Jenkins. Then Davis. Then the entire rooftop surged into applause. Real, thunderous, startling. People cheered. Someone whistled. Champagne glasses lifted. I sat down slowly, heart pounding. Nana was watching me with an expression that was somewhere between approval and triumph. The influencer beside us was still recording. Good. The next morning, my phone exploded. 17 missed calls. 43 texts. For a heartbeat, I thought someone had died. Then I saw the notifications. Every single one was from my parents, or Brittany. But the first thing I noticed wasn't their messages. It was the tag, 419,000 views. A video, posted by the influencer from the next table. Title, Class versus Trash. Family abandons. Lawyer. Sister's partner, Gala, to party on her credit card. The split-screen edit was lethal. Me on the Spire rooftop. Black silk, candlelight, skyline, poise. Brittany, neon lights, screaming, spilling drinks. ATM sis. The internet shredded them. Absolutely shredded them. Is this family insane? That sister is trash. OMG, I would never speak to them again. Her grandma is everything. This is humiliating. I watched the video 3 times. Then the calls started again. Mom, Dad, Brittany, Eva, this is so fucked up, OMG. Take it down. Their voices blended into white noise. My phone buzzed again. Samantha. Already here. Documents ready. Blue folder on your desk. God, I loved her. I finally answered when Mom called the 4th time. Serena, she started immediately. Voice sharp with panic. You need to fix this. All our friends are texting. Your father's golf buddies saw the video. Brittany is getting hate messages. This is humiliating. I didn't post the video, I said calmly. An influencer did. I didn't send her anything. Well, you need to make her take it down. Why? Because it makes us look terrible. I sipped my coffee. Smooth, rich, expensive. Then maybe you shouldn't have done terrible things. Silence crackled. You texted me that Brittany had a panic attack, I continued, then charged $3,000 at a beach club, then live-streamed the whole thing. You lied. You're being dramatic. Those are facts. You're supposed to help family, she snapped. We raised you. You raised me, I repeated softly, and I've supported you for 3 years. Mom's breath hitched. Come to my apartment next Saturday, I said. 7 p.m., all of you. I have something I want to give you, a gift I didn't get to present at the party. A beat. A gift? Her tone shifted instantly. Interest? Greed? Hope? Yes, but it must be given in person. We'll be there, she said quickly. Perfect. I hung up. Then I texted Samantha. Print everything. Lease guarantees, credit card statements, wire transfers, and the pink flamingo breakdown. Her reply came instantly, already in the blue folder. Also, ordered you a paper shredder, industrial grade. I stared at my phone, smiling slowly. She knew exactly what kind of meeting I was preparing for. Next Saturday, we settle accounts. Saturday arrived colder than forecasted, one of those sharp, metallic evenings where the air feels thinner, cleaner, like the universe is wiping the slate before something decisive happens. I spent the morning preparing my apartment, not with food, not with wine, not with anything that suggested hospitality. Just a polished dining table, a single row of chairs, a perfectly placed blue folder filled with 3 years' worth of financial receipts, and the 2 thick envelopes that should have been presented at the Spire rooftop. And beside them, the industrial-grade paper shredder Samantha had ordered, humming softly after I'd tested it once, its hungry blades gleaming under the dining room light. The entire setup looked clinical, intentional, like a courtroom, because that's what tonight would be. A closing argument, delivered not in front of a judge, but in front of the people who had taken the most from me and offered the least in return. At 6:30 sharp, Nana Beatrice arrived, wearing wool trousers and a burgundy turtleneck, like she was heading into intellectual combat. She carried a bottle of wine tucked under her arm, the good kind, the kind she reserved for graduations and celebrations, or in this case, emotional executions. She stepped inside, surveyed the table, and nodded once, sharp, approving. You've learned well, she said. I had a good teacher. We took our seats in the living room, waiting in silence. She read a book, something extremely dense about post-war economic policy. I pretended to scroll emails, thumb unmoving, eyes never really leaving the clock. At 7:03 p.m., the intercom buzzed. "Miss Ashford, your parents and sister are here." Of course, they were 3 minutes late. They were never on time unless brunch reservations depended on it. "Send them up." I walked to the door and opened it before anyone knocked. Mom stepped in first and immediately wrinkled her nose. "Oh, Serena, this place is so cold." She gestured vaguely at my minimalist decor. "You need color. Throw pillows, plants, something to make it feel like someone actually lives here." "Hello to you too," I said. "Dining room's this way." Dad shuffled in behind her, uncomfortable in slacks and a button-down he probably hadn't ironed. Brittany trailed last, eyes glued to her phone, still puffy from what I assumed was a hangover, or several days of online backlash. When they entered the dining room, they froze. Nana sat at the head of the table like a judge overseeing a court. She held a glass of wine in one hand, her spine perfectly straight, her expression carved from ice. Mom stiffened. "Mother, I didn't know you were coming." "Deborah," Nana said coolly, "sit down, all of you." There's a certain tone only lifelong educators possess, the kind that makes fully grown adults obey without argument. My parents sat immediately. Even Brittany put her phone down after Nana's eyes slashed toward it. "Now," I said, remaining standing, "we're going to discuss what happened last Friday." Mom gasped dramatically, hand flying to her chest. "Oh, Serena, we have been so stressed. You cannot imagine the humiliation we've suffered because of that awful video. Your father's colleagues are talking. My book club friends." "Deborah," Nana interrupted sharply. "Shut up." Silence slammed into the room. Mom's mouth stayed open, but no sound followed. Dad stared at the tablecloth. Brittany whimpered something under her breath. "You ditched your daughter's partnership celebration," Nana said, voice calm and lethal. "A $15,000 event. For a beach club that smells like sunscreen and bad decisions. You lied about a panic attack. You used her money to run away from her success. That is not a misunderstanding. That is not miscommunication. That is pathetic." The room stayed so quiet I could hear the refrigerator hum. I picked up the 2 envelopes. "Before we go any further," I said, "I want to show you something." Brittany's eyes widened. Mom's lips curved into a hopeful little smile. Dad straightened, as if preparing to accept an award. Inside the first envelope, the retirement portfolio. Inside the second, Brittany's scholarship package. "Yes," I said, lifting them. "These are for you." Mom actually reached out instinctively, fingers twitching. Brittany leaned forward so fast her chair creaked. "This," I continued, opening the first envelope, "is an all-inclusive retirement fund. Enough for 2 international trips a year for the next 20 years. Cruises, hotels, everything." Mom's breath hitched. Dad looked like he was staring at the Holy Grail. "And this," I lifted the second envelope, "is a full-ride scholarship to Institut Français de la Mode in Paris. Tuition, housing, stipend included." Brittany's mouth fell open. "Oh my God. Serena, oh my God, you're serious?" I held up a hand. "But these come with context." Her face faltered. "I prepared these gifts months ago. I planned to present them at the celebration. I wanted you to stand beside me as I finally became partner. I wanted you to see what I'd achieved, and I wanted to give you your dreams." Silence. Thick, uncomfortable. "But you chose the pink flamingo instead." Mom flinched, as if slapped. Dad shifted in his seat. Brittany inhaled sharply. "You chose watered-down cocktails. You chose 10 alcohol towers. You chose a private DJ. You chose a live stream where you called me an ATM." "That was a joke," Brittany cried. "I didn't mean—" "You meant every word." I tore open the retirement envelope. Mom gasped. Dad stood halfway out of his chair. Without breaking eye contact, I fed the glossy retirement booklet, 3 years of planning, into the shredder. The machine roared to life. Paper became ribbons. Dreams turned to confetti. Mom let out a sound that barely qualified as human. "Serena, no! What are you doing?" I picked up the scholarship envelope. "This," I said, "represents 4 years in Paris, a real future, a real career, something better than posting discount codes on Instagram." Brittany broke. "Please," she sobbed, mascara streaking. "Serena, please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean any of it, I swear, please don't." I fed the letter into the shredder. She screamed, a raw, strangled sound that echoed off my dining room walls. Mom covered her mouth. Dad stared as if watching a building collapse. When the shredder stopped, the room felt hollow. "That's it?" Mom whispered. You're You're destroying our future over one mistake? One mistake? My voice was calm, steady, cold. You've drained me for 3 years. I opened the blue folder. This is everything I've paid. Every rent check, every wire, every supplementary charge. I slid document after document across the table. $4,200 a month for Brittany's apartment. $47,000 in credit card charges. $250,000 total, $250,000. Mom shook her head violently. That's impossible. We didn't ask for. You did, I said quietly, and I said yes, every time. I placed 2 final documents on the table. 1. All supplementary credit cards are canceled, effective immediately. Mom choked on air. 2. I'm withdrawing as guarantor for Brittany's apartment. You have 30 days to find a new guarantor or move out. Brittany sobbed harder. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Mom stared at me like she didn't recognize me. You can't do this. We're family. I met her eyes. You abandoned me first. The words landed like a verdict. Final. Irrevocable. Please leave, I said. My voice didn't waver. Not once. Dad tried one last time. Serena, sweetheart, just listen. Leave. Nana stood. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. Your daughter said leave. And they did. Mom shaking, Brittany sobbing, Dad silent. At the door, Mom turned back. You'll regret this, she hissed. Family is forever. No, I said, family is who shows up. I closed the door, locked it. Only then did the shaking begin. In my hands, my knees, my breath. Nana crossed to me and pulled me into a hug that held 40 years of strength behind it. You did the right thing, she whispered into my hair. I'm so proud of you. I nodded into her shoulder, the last of the adrenaline leaking out of me. Now, she said, straightening, I'm going to pour you a very large glass of wine, and you're going to tell me how it feels to finally be free. I didn't argue. I followed her, and for the first time in my life, I felt the weight lifting. 1 month later, I woke up to silence. Not the cold, brittle kind that used to echo in my chest when my phone stayed quiet too long, but a warm, expansive kind. A silence that belonged entirely to me. No 6 a.m. texts demanding money. No overdraft warnings. No frantic voicemails about emergencies. Just the hum of the city outside my window and the smell of fresh coffee drifting through my apartment. For the first time in years, my bank balance was actually growing. For the first time in years, I wasn't supporting 3 adults. I was supporting myself, and it felt like inhaling oxygen after living underwater. My phone buzzed, a single soft notification. From Nana. Subject line, you have to see this. It was a link to the suburban newsletter from my parents' neighborhood. The headline nearly made me laugh into my coffee. Local family seeks community support after cruel abandonment by daughter. I clicked. Mom had given an interview. Dramatic, embellished, dripping with self-pity. She claimed I cut them off over a minor scheduling conflict. Brittany was quoted saying, I valued money over blood. At the bottom was a GoFundMe link. Goal, $50,000. Caption, to replace the stolen gifts our daughter destroyed. Raised so far, 340s. I scrolled to the comments. Scheduling conflict equals skipping her partnership gala to go to a beach club? Oh, I saw the viral video. Team Serena. Imagine fumbling the bag this hard. Their daughter becomes a lawyer and they do this? $50,000 for what? More alcohol towers? I closed my laptop slowly, savoring the moment. They had tried to spin a narrative, tried to weaponize public sympathy, and the internet slapped it right out of their hands. I felt something dark and quiet settle inside me. Not bitterness, not revenge. Closure. They were no longer my burden. They were a cautionary tale. My afternoon was packed. Meetings, briefs, a client call that ran long, and then an interview for a new intern. Sarah Brooks, a 23-year-old from Columbia Law. She reminded me of a younger version of myself, bright, sharp, but without a family name opening doors for her. She talked fast when nervous. She straightened her blazer twice in 5 minutes. And she had that look, the one I recognized instantly, of someone who'd had to earn every single inch of progress. At the end of the interview, I didn't just offer her the job. I walked to my office shelf, pulled down a small, worn book with a faded navy cover, a first edition contract law handbook, my lucky charm, a gift from a professor who took a chance on me when no one else did. I placed it in her hands. Take this, I said, her eyebrows shot up. Someone once taught me that you invest in people who share your vision, not just your bloodline. You have the vision, Sarah. Use it well. Her face flushed with shock and something else, gratitude. I won't let you down, Miss Ashford. I know, I said. And I meant it. By 6 o'clock, I was free. I stepped out of the office building. The crisp evening air smelled like roasted chestnuts from a street cart, warm dough, faint exhaust fumes, and the electric promise of Manhattan on a Friday night. I walked to the small Italian restaurant where Nana was waiting. She was already seated, back straight as always, a bottle of good red wine open on the table. She looked up at me, not scanning my face for stress, not for exhaustion, but for peace. And she must have seen it because she smiled in that small, knowing way she reserved for moments when she recognized her own influence. You look different, she said as I took my seat. I feel different. I lifted the glass she poured me. Lighter. That's the weight of dead expectations falling off your shoulders, she said. Cheers to Serena Ashford, who finally stopped trying to buy love and started building a legacy. I smiled. To family, I said softly. The real kind. We clinked glasses. The wine tasted like victory. Through the window, the lights of Manhattan glittered. Millions of lives unfolding, countless stories beginning, ending, intersecting. Somewhere out there, my parents and Brittany were living with the consequences of their choices. And here, across from me, sat the only family member who had never asked me for a dime, never demanded I shrink, never celebrated my absence. After dinner, the check came. I reached instinctively for my purse, but Nana snatched it out of my reach with the reflexes of a hawk. My treat, she said firmly. You've paid enough. I laughed, a real unguarded sound, one I hadn't heard from myself in a very long time. We walked out into the cool night air, arm in arm. The city stretched out before us, open and endless. I didn't look back. The future belonged entirely to me now, and for the first time in my life, I was finally ready for it.